I'm Liz Haas, and we're presenting live from our sand carving workshop. So thank you for joining us today. We've had a lot of great feedback over the past 4 segments. So today is segment 5, and I love the comments. I love people giving me ideas of what we should talk about. Today we are talking about metal surfaces. So we have metal surfaces, and we have painting on glass and adding some glitter. We also have April Willis from our custom mask department, and she's going to be joining us today, going over the artwork that she created for our project today. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we're going to start with our mask making kit. Now, I've been going over producing stencils using the Luminix, using our electrolyte unit. How do you make a stencil? A lot of you have purchased mask making kits, and a lot of you have questions. So let's talk about what is in a mask making kit and why do you need one. A mask making kit is designed for you to make your own photoresist stencils. A lot of you use vinyl, and vinyl's great, but what about detail? What about a lot of items that have a lot of lettering? Do you want to weed all those letters out? That's where Photoresist comes in. Photoresist allows you to apply that stencil. There's no weeding. It's easy. You blast, you can paint, and remove that stencil. Very simple. But with our mask making kit, you have your electrolyte unit. This is used to expose your photoresist film. You have a print film, and every kit gets one of these samples right here. This is a sample print film. You have a detailed design, a 3mm design, a 4mm, a 5mm, and a 6mm design. And basically this allows you to produce a stencil and test your film. So you can also use this to compare the opacity of your print film. Now, we talked about that on the last couple sessions. Remove the blanket, turn on the light, place your artwork here against your artwork against our sample, and check the density of your print. So you would remove this blanket completely and turn on the light, and then you can compare the density. We want to make sure that no light is passing through the inkjet or your inkjet print. In your kit you have inkjet film, and this runs through your inkjet printer. Now, I keep saying inkjet. We recommend inkjet printing because you can control the settings to have an opaque print. Now, I do recommend a particular printer. It's the Epson HD XP 15000, and we can actually pull it up on the screen right now so you can get a look at it. But this is a great printer. It's a desktop printer. It's pretty reasonable in price, but we have the settings for this printer. So we're going to put that up now, and you can see this, our Epson HD XP 15000. You can get on Amazon, Best Buy. There's plenty of different companies that sell this. Let us know if you're using a Mac or a PC. We will send you the instructions, just a guideline of how to set up that printer. Okay, so let's talk about what else we have in your mask kit. You have a hand sprayer. Now, this hand sprayer is used to develop your photoresist film. It goes along with the white washout board. Now, you've seen me place our mask on this washout board, put it in your sink, and you're going to use your hand sprayer to wash out that design. This hand sprayer, it's nothing like something you would use to wash or rinse your dishes. That doesn't work. That is a low pressure water. So what you need is a high pressure to wash out your stencil. This is a high pressurized fan spray. This is key for washing out your stencils. Anything else that's used by your sink doesn't have enough pressure. So you need to have pressure. Start with tools that work. Start with tools that you're going to have success with. That's why we have put together this kit, and it also comes with a little adapter to fit, so this hose will fit to your faucet. Now, a lot of times people say, well, I don't want to wash out. There's water that goes everywhere. I make a big mess. Place your washout board in a tub, put it in your sink, and then you can wash out, and that tub will help contain that water in your sink. So that's just a little tip there. You have 3mm, 4mm, 5mm film. This is a great starter kit because you have a little bit of every mil thickness. 3mm, 4mm, 5mm. 5mm is used for deep engraving into glass, your surface etch into stone. A lot of companies use 5mm for wine bottles. They're etching deep enough to add a paint fill. Your 4mm gives you detail that your 5mm can't, but it also allows you to etch a pretty good depth. And your 3mm is going to give you a great detail with a surface etch. So that's what you get. You get your wire wheel roller, great handy tool, your squeegee, and your vinyl tape. This is your sandblast tape that's used for deep engraving. You see me use, I've used before painter's tape. I love painter's tape, but when you're engraving deep, you want to use your vinyl tape. All right, so that's the mask making kit. I know a lot of you had some questions, but I wanted to make sure you knew what was in that kit. You need a graphic program, Adobe Illustrator, CorelDRAW, Inkscape, and your printer. So those items with that kit, and you can do any artwork on your own, and you can apply those stencils and then blast them. All right, so let's move over to what we have today. We have our powder-coated Yeti, and we have a stainless steel Yeti. So these are metal surfaces, and blasting on metal surfaces, it's nice because it's easy, it's fast, very quick. And the cleanup, you can paint different colors, but you apply that stencil, add a paint fill, and then once that paint dries, remove that stencil. We're going to be doing that today. But when it comes to powder-coated surfaces, you don't have to etch all the way to the metal. You can just etch enough just to have that paint hold in that surface. So you can etch to the metal surface. That's if you don't want to add paint. But if you want to add paint, you're just etching enough to remove that powder-coated surface, but you don't have to go all the way through. When it comes to stainless steel, very fast to etch. You can add a different color paint. You're not limited to black. Okay, stainless steel. There is an issue when it comes to metal, is you don't want to leave the stencil on for a long period of time. So let's say I put my stencil on tonight, I come back the next day and I do all my etching. What happens is I start to have a residue on that area of where my mask is. So I'm causing that mask, that glue to transfer over and create a residue on that surface. Now I have to spend time cleaning that residue up. But what you want to do is you want to put your mask on, etch right away, paint right away, and then clean up. Okay, so that's a couple tips. You can't leave that stencil on for a long period of time. That's very important. And number two is you cannot etch depth when it comes to metal surfaces. You're just removing the surface. You're removing the polish, the paint, or just the coating, such as a powder-coated surface. So that's your metal surfaces. But we will apply a stencil, and we are going to etch that. Okay, so we're going to move over to our area here where I'm going to do some mask application. And we have here our design. This is Rewrite the Stars. For those of you that are fans of The Greatest Showman, that's where this comes from. And this is an actual project. It's an actual gift for someone that's been wanting this. So this is a great gift here. We have Rewrite the Stars. We're going to put this stencil on. We're going to blast it. Then we're going to add a paint fill. And you'll notice that I have a target here. And this target I use as an alignment tool. And basically, you can just set your item here, and you can find center. Okay, so I'm going to find center here. I'm going to use my water-based Sharpie that we talked about last week. I'm going to mark center. Okay, and once you mark center, you can remove your target. But this is great if you're dealing with like wine bottles or spirit bottles. You find the center of that label, and then you can turn it around, and you can apply your design. So this is a great way to find out where your center is. So it's a nice little tool here. We just found something like this on the internet, printed it. If you need one on your next order, let us know and we'll include it in your shipment. Okay, so let's get my next tool that I like to use. And this is a step. Someone created this for me. And I'm going to create 3 alignment lines. Now I'm using my water-based Sharpie, so this will come off. And I have my step here, and I'm just going to create an alignment line here. Let's do another one down here. And this will help me to line up my text even on my stencil here. Here we go. So I have 3 lines with my water-based Sharpie. Okay, and I use this tool. And now we're set to apply our stencil. Now, let's talk about this powder-coated surface. There's Arctics, there's Ozark, there's many different powder-coated surfaces out there. There's different brands, and they all etch differently. Okay, so there's some that etch very fast, and there's some that take a long time to etch. I like to use a 5 mil to a 6 mil material because it gives me enough sand resistant to kick up that pressure and to blast a little faster to remove that coating. And that's the whole idea, is you want to get through your process quickly, but you want to make sure that that mask is able to endure that blast. So we're using a 5 mil stencil today. A lot of people like to apply adhesive to that stencil, and that's fine. You would just remove your cover paper, you would brush on some adhesive and then let that dry, and that would give you enough tack to apply to this type of surface. Now with these surfaces, some of them are textured. They're not completely smooth. Like the stainless steel is completely smooth. So that mask adheres to that smooth surface very well. But when you're dealing with a textured surface, you need to make sure that mask is compressed and is completely against that surface. Otherwise, you could have bleeding when it comes to painting. So that is very important when it comes to the textured surfaces, that you have that mask completely on and it's not floating, that it's secure to that textured surface. So if you're not using glue, which I'm not today, I'm using a self-stick film, SR3000 5 mil. I have my damp towel next to me, and I just wet it and I wrung it out. And I'm going to take my sticky side, press it down. I'm just going to add a little bit of moisture onto my stencil, and that's going to reactivate my adhesive. It's going to make it really sticky, and I can feel it. It's pretty sticky. And I'm going to separate my carrier here. Kind of pull this, separate this, going to pinch it. There we go. And I like to create a little pull tab, and now we're going to use our alignment lines, and we're going to apply the stencil here. Okay, so I have my stencil applied. I'm going to take my squeegee. We're going to apply pressure. Now this is key right here. A lot of people, when I'm watching them in class or they're squeegeeing their items, they're just kind of brushing or kind of rubbing. You want to apply pressure. It's a pressure sensitive film. So you want to make sure that you apply pressure when you're securing the stencil to this surface. Now I'm going to remove this carrier, and I'm going to let this mask conform to this surface here. I'm going to remove this. And see, what happens is this clear liner kind of restricts the mask from laying on a curved surface. So we removed it, and now I can take my liner, and now I can apply the pressure. Now, like the Arctic metal tumblers, they blast fairly quick. If you have a tumbler that the powder coating doesn't want to remove, you can use a 6 mil mask, and you can actually etch at high pressure, and that coating is going to come off very quick. You can also use a rubber roller here, and this kind of helps secure that mask to that surface. Great little tools for mask application. I like to use my wire wheel roller here, and what this does is I'm just puncturing or perforating that thin membrane that's holding our design together. And I don't know if you can see that, but all that's kind of roughed up there. And this is great. So in case there's any trapped air underneath, it releases it, and it actually allows that mask to compress and sit against this textured surface. So the wire wheel is important on this particular item. I'm going to use my blasting tape instead of a painter's tape. And one thing, make it easy, remove the lid. So we're just going to apply our blasting tape. Okay. And again, I'm using a 5 mil stencil. This was made with our mask making kit and Illustrator. Okay. And because we are painting this, I do want to make sure that I cover this side here. Because I'm painting it, I do need to make sure that it's protected, this area here, only because you don't want that overspray of paint. And then you have to spend time cleaning it up. So that looks pretty good here. Okay. So we are ready to blast this. All right, before we get in the blaster here, let's talk about our cabinet. So we have, okay, someone raised this up. Who did that? Someone came in early and they raised this cabinet. It's definitely too tall for me. So what I would do is I would lower this. This is a great feature of our 2034. It's adjustable with a simple switch. So you can lower it or you can raise it to wherever you feel comfortable sandblasting. What's important is you want to stand up tall. You want your forearms to be parallel to the floor. So I need to lower it just a little bit. And you can stand up against the cabinet and now you're comfortable. Okay? So we're going to go over a couple features here. The adjustability is one, but another feature that you have is you can raise and lower your blasting pressure. So right now I'm set at 40. We're going to keep it at 40, but you can simply unlock this lock here and then turn it clockwise, and that will increase your blasting pressure. Counterclockwise will decrease it. Okay, so let's take a look here. I think we have some questions. Sergey, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. All right. Jim, good morning, Jim. Thank you. All the way from California, not too far from us. And Sergey, I believe, is from New York or New Jersey. The target tool has been a lifesaver. That's great. The step is brilliant. I have a customer that made that for us. So if you're interested, let us know. He also uses a stack of tape. That does help. So you take your rolls of tape and then you can stack it up and you can use that as a guideline to create your alignment lines on the bottle. Okay, let's see here. How many mil is blasting tape? How many mil is a blasting tape? That's a good question. I haven't had that. I want to say it's probably about 4 to 5 mil because it's sand. It has enough sand resistance when we're blasting on wine bottles and the surface of bricks and stones. So it's about a 4 to 5 mil as a sand resistant. Okay, so let's see here. The Blast Shop is official. Yes, hi. How are you guys doing? We have Lee from the Blast Shop. Thank you for joining us. He also helps us distribute film. And we have several of our dealers. So if you're looking for, if you're in UK, you have the Glass Scribe. They will assist you. You have Adam and Carl there. You have Europe. You have Matthias with abrasive imaging. And you have Jeff with ProBlast. He services Australia and New Zealand. We have very good customer service companies. We have companies that will sell and redistribute our film, and they provide education as well as extreme knowledge on all of our products. And then we have Luis in Peru, South America, with R&Art. So we're servicing you all over the world. So we have here in the States, but as well as other countries that you have help and assistance, and then you can always contact Rayzist if you need anything. So let's go ahead and get back to what we're talking about here. So we have our Sandblast hose. So a question I often get is how do I know when it's time to change out my hose? And really, when you start, if you start to have a puncture or a hole in your hose, that's a time where people start to call and they need a hose overnighted. What you can do is if you're looking at your hose and you have it pinched at a certain area, so let's say like I have a hard bend here and I'm pulling it, the first place that I'm going to get a wearing is right here. That sand is coming around at high pressure and I'm going to have wear spots because it's on a tight bend. You can actually pinch your hose through this hose here. You can pinch it and you can actually find a soft spot. That soft spot is an area that's going to puncture pretty soon. So you can kind of get an idea of your hose. There's going to be an area that's going to puncture soon or wear. Pinch it and you can find a soft spot. You'll definitely know by pinching it where that soft spot is. The second item that needs to get replaced is your foot switch valve. Now, if you've been joining me the last few weeks, I've had this foot switch valve on my table here for quite some time, and I haven't had a chance to go through it. But this foot switch valve is, it's a great piece of equipment here. You have a tube sleeve inside with the metal core. That tube sleeve is what gets replaced. So I have one here on the table. Okay, so this is where your foot pedal connects. You have the side plates, and I've already removed it. So what you would do is this is your replacement kit right here. This is your foot switch valve replacement kit, and this is your actual foot switch valve. So this all comes together. Your replacement part is this tube sleeve and the metal core. So basically what you need to do, and I spent some time doing this so I can get it in correctly, is I would pinch this and fold it in half, okay, because it's pretty durable here. It's kind of tough. Push it all the way through until you see that lip come out, and then you start to work it. Okay, so that works by folding it in half. Take your metal core, you slide it inside, then you put the plates on, and the plates need to match the groove. So we don't want to go like this. Even though it'll fit, you want to match the groove, just like this, so that groove fits. Okay, and then you put your bolts in on the side and just screw them in. So that's how you replace your foot switch valve. You have to remove it, of course, depressurize, remove your foot switch valve, take off the side plates, take out that metal, the metal core and the tube sleeve, and then replace it. So what happens? How do you know when it's time to replace this? Usually people replace these in about anywhere from 1 year to 5 years. It all depends on how much you use your system. If you step on the pedal and you take your foot off the pedal while you're blasting and air and sand continue to flow, that is a good sign that your tube sleeve has been ruptured and you need to replace it. So basically it will affect your foot pedal. It makes it seem like the foot pedal needs to be replaced, but really it's the tube sleeve inside the foot switch valve. Okay, so we've covered the sandblast hose, we've covered the foot switch valve. Last week I covered the nozzles. So we're going to start blasting. So if you have any questions about the system, let me know, and I'll try to do my best to cover it. So let's go ahead and start blasting this. I'm going to turn this on. I'm using 150 grit abrasive, and we're blasting at 40 pounds. I'm using a 3/32 nozzle. And I'm just doing nice, slow passes. That membrane was just removed. Okay. Nice, slow passes here. Letting the sand do the work. And if you notice that I'm rotating my tumbler, just so I can always maintain a 90-degree angle when I come to the sides here. Very important to maintain a 90-degree angle, especially we're dealing with self-stick. So there's no additional adhesive on the mask. You need to use your air and sand to actually compress the mask further to the substrate. Isn't this a great font? Here we go. So you're starting to see that coating, the polish removed, and we're just about done sandblasting. I'm going to take a look. See, we're starting almost to break through. Because I'm adding a paint, I don't need to go all the way to the metal. I just want to make sure that the polish is removed. Now another mask material that you can use is laser mask. For those of you that have laser engravers and you want to add some color, or you're doing several tumblers, use laser mask. Laser mask will, it's great mask material. You use it with your laser, and you can actually have the laser cut out your design, and then you would sandblast and add your paint fill. One thing I forgot to show you is our air gun. We're just going to blow off any dust that's in that mask area. Okay. And this is a great little air gun. It's like $49. It connects right to your regulator here. So you just connect it to your regulator, comes with a little adapter, and then you have a low pressure air gun that won't rip off your mask. Okay, so we have our piece here. It's already been etched, and now we're going to go ahead and add a paint fill. Okay. So we're going to step over to our paint booth. So let's talk about paint. So I'm using black paint for this Yeti tumbler today. And I'm just using our stone tone paint. It's a very durable paint. It has a matte finish and it dries very fast. Again, when it comes to paints, it's going to be, we prefer low pressure. Low pressure paints give you more control over painting. When you deal with a high pressure paint, you have to make sure you really paint in short sprays, light coats. You don't want to overpaint, especially on a metal surface. You don't have a lot of depth there. When it comes to painting, light coats from different angles, let that paint dry. I'm painting in our paint booth. I'm going to turn on the fan. I have our LED light here, and then you can hear the fan is going to pull the fumes, but also I have a charcoal filter here. So if you have employees that are painting or you're painting in an enclosed room, you want to make sure that you protect yourself. The fumes can be very dangerous. Put a charcoal filter on your paint booth, and that helps reduce the fumes. Also, wear a painter's mask. We have them. We've bought them. They're a little pricey, but they work great, especially when I hold classes where we're doing nothing but painting. I make everybody wear a mask that's designed specifically for painting. So there's ways to protect yourself. Okay, so you always want to make sure your can is shook really well. Do a little test spray on the side here. And let's paint our piece. And then we're going to let it dry. Short sprays. I'm going to turn this at an angle. And let me turn this here. So we have quite a bit of paint on there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to paint the sides one more time. You always want to examine to make sure that all your areas are painted and that you're not missing anything, because you can't go back and fix it. I'm going to do a little more, one more spot up here at the top. But just short sprays, real short sprays, okay? We're going to let this dry. Then I have something else for you. We talked about painting on glass. I have a bourbon bottle here, and we had April, she kind of put some roses. This is a 4 roses bourbon bottle. So we put the roses here, and then she designed it for a happy anniversary. So we're going to paint this red, and then we're going to add some glitter to it. But I'm using the Belton Molotow paint here, and this is a great paint. It's my traffic red. It's an opaque paint. But when I first got this, it had this cap on, the original cap. And take a look at the spray here. That's a lot of paint that comes out of this cap. If you change the cap to the Gold Dot Skinny, look at that difference. It's a slow speed, and it's a reduced amount of paint. It gives you more control over painting this bottle. So you want to go to artprimo.com and you would get the Gold Dot Skinny cap. And actually, I'm just going to change this real quick. Had a little bit of bleeding on the cap. I'm going to press it all the way down. See how easy that was? Again, you have to shake the cans really well. You can swirl it, shake it. When you're done painting, Jim gave us a good tip, turn it upside down to clear the nozzle. So paint it up, or spray the can upside down, it clears that nozzle. So let's go ahead and paint our bottle. Let's start with the roses up here. Because it's at an odd angle, I want to make sure that I'm painting and draw my attention to this small design right up here at the top. You'll notice that I wrapped it in the saran wrap that we used from last week. Okay, so now let's paint our 25 happy anniversary. We're just doing short sprays here. You'll notice that I'm pretty close to the bottle. I'm not far away, I'm pretty close, so I'm really directing my paint. And I think right in here it probably just needs a little bit more, and we're done. You can actually see the amount of paint. You don't want to do too much, but just short sprays. And then we do the fingerprint test. Of course, it's still wet, but you can touch the paint outside, touch the mask outside, and it feels really tacky. And I can see my fingerprint here. It's still wet. So that's a good way to test your product. Is it dry? Do the fingerprint test. We're going to hit it with the hair dryer real quick. Just going to let this dry. We're going to speed up the drying process is what we're doing. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is we're going to add a little bit of glitter. I got this from Art Primo, you guessed it. I love that store. It's like almost like a shoe store for me. Okay, all the different colors of paints, the different nozzles, the glitter. It's a fun store. Again, shake it well, but I want you to take a look here at this spray. That comes out really fast. I am not going to change the nozzle size because the glitter needs to come out with the lacquer. So I can't change the nozzle size here. I'm just going to create a clog. So I have to use this cap with it, but it comes out very fast. So I want to make sure that and you're also, take a look here. See how much lacquer comes out? That would saturate my bottle here. So now we're going to spray it far away. I'm just going to do a little spray. Okay, so we have some glitter there. You can already see the amount of lacquer that's on my bottle. I have a little bit of glitter. We're going to do it a couple more times. What's key here is going to be distance from the bottle. Again, trying to maintain the short sprays. Okay, we're going to hit it with the hair dryer again. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to let this sit for a little bit. What we've done is we've added the glitter. We've allowing that paint to sit, and we have our paint from artprimo.com, and we're going to start in now with our artwork segment. So I'm going to bring April up from our art department. So here's April Willis. Hi, April. Thank you for joining us. You look lovely. All right, so she's going to talk about this artwork that you created for us, Rewrite the Stars. Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our area here, and we're going to go over. You're going to see the artwork on her screen, and she's going to talk about this particular design and how she created it.
Okay, so I'm going to switch pages here.
I'm going to grab the Yeti for you.
We had a question a few minutes ago regarding the font that we used. I just wanted to address that. It's Song of Kronos, and I got it off of defont.com. Like I've been getting fonts off there for a long time, so that's where I just know to go. But as you can see, it is this is just the regular font here, and I actually went through and created it to be my own, right. Basically.
So the original font.
The original font is right here.
Okay.
All and right. It's called Song of Kronos. Okay. I really don't know how to pronounce that. But I just wanted to address that because there was a question.
Sure.
If you can see here, I did create some things differently. I kind of created it to be my own so that it would work with what you
So
wanted.
what you changed here is I can see that you've changed the W.
I changed the
circle
W.
that so they can see that.
Yes,
Kind of
and
circle it a little bit.
right here, I changed this right here. I added a star for the dot of the eye instead of a comma or that dot. And then I added a star at the end of the R.
Okay.
And I created this, as you can see, where the S really ended on stars. Right here in this little area.
Okay, so that's where the S ended.
That's where the S originally ended, and I just extended that kind of with a brush tool and using just different tools. Used the brush, I used the pen tool, and I used my direct select tool to kind of perfect it. And then I added a star at the end. Now this isn't the logo for Rewrite the Stars, but we just wanted to create something that was a little more personal.
Right.
Right.
I think it looks great. I love the W and the way the S kind of brings you bringing that across with another star.
So working again with be creative, do what you do best, and what do you see in your mind, and what do you see on the piece. And sometimes it takes me some time. I look at a piece and I'm like, okay, what do I see in this? So
Trying to get creative. Now I've noticed when you look at the original text, the original font, it's very straight, and I can tell, especially looking at the stars, it's a little more curved.
Right, so this is a curved surface on this piece.
So we can use this.
So using this, okay, now this isn't the technical way to do it for all you mathematicians out there. Basically, I just take either maybe some scrap film I have around, or because we do a lot of
Printing,
that, or printing, and we have a lot of scrap film around sometimes. Or I just take a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, set it in here. Take that out.
Now I had no idea that she did this, but she was like, "Oh, I need to fix the font. You're on a tapered Yeti here, so a tapered surface. So we need to kind of make sure that aligns correctly once you apply that stencil, that text comes up straight."
Right. So all I do is just, I know this is,
no, it's fine.
It just helps me, and this is what's worked. So I take this, I put a cone, and then I draw a line. I draw a line all the way around the piece. And I know you think, oh, it's just going to be a straight line. That's kind of what I thought too at the beginning. But when you take this out, you're going to have a curved surface. And all I do with that is I take it to a scanner, I scan it in to get to get the exact curve. And when I scanned it, let me zoom out here. When I scanned it, it comes out to, I just traced it with my pen tool in Illustrator, and I got my curve. So now I know what I need to do is curve this to kind of match that curve, and that's the top part of my curve.
Right. Very nice. So sometimes you're dealing with wine glasses, stemless glasses. You're dealing with all types of curved. You're dealing with wine bottles, spirit bottles that have that curved shape. So you need to apply that text to a slight curve. So when you apply it to the mask, when you apply that mask to that surface, the text is straight. Sometimes you see it go to a smile or a frown, and that's where you can
probably
make that
even
change.
use that step thing that you had earlier, and put your paper around the edging of the cup and trace it as well, and get the exact curve for that part. So
great. So you created the font to your own by adding the stars, and then you've scanned in the curve.
Yes.
Nice. Very,
so now what I have to do is kind of I have to match that curve. So in Illustrator, I don't really know how to use it in Corel, but I know it's this similar.
Okay.
So so what I'm going to do is create that curve. Now I'm going to go to select my text, all of it. Go to Effect, Warp, and Arc.
Okay.
Now it's going to be a lot. It just automatically extremes the warp. So there's little sliders here, and that allow you to customize your curve. I want to make sure that this is just a tiny bit and kind of matches that. Now I'm not exactly on my curve, but because I just want to make sure that it kind of matches. So I think that's pretty good. Now it's hard to see because of all the blue
Right.
on here. That's just your trace. So before you do this, really what you want to do is save a copy off to the side just to make sure that you keep your original piece, because once you do this, it's gone. So let's see, select, effect, work.
Okay. So explain that real quick. I'm going to step over. I think we have some questions.
Yes.
All right. So, okay. So, Sergey, is it better to wait a few minutes before strokes of paint, instead of adding the top, so that all the moisture doesn't come out and it's not tacky? Sure. So you're saying like wait a little bit for that paint to dry and then add the glitter, and yes, that would be ideal. But I only have a certain amount of time to present to you, so I have to try to speed up the process. So it is ideal to let that paint dry, and then you can add on the glitter, because it does re-wet that paint area, and so you're having a double duty of drying. That's why I painted first to kind of let it sit, and so we can come back to it at the end to pull that mask off. So very good question. What is the glitter called? I will pull that. Let me see here. It's hologram glitter effect spray, and again, artprimo.com. It's a Montana brand. Okay, Montana right here. And we actually use this for the Chanel. Let me grab that real quick. And this was a black candle, and then April did the artwork, and so she blasted away the color and creating this, and then applying a glitter over the black paint. Really nice. So it's a great effect, and so you have the glitter that you can use all types of surfaces. All right, so let's take a look here. Are there any brands of powder-coated mugs that don't work well for sand carving? I've only used Yeti. I haven't found one that that doesn't work. I've tried to use a 4 mil, that didn't work. 5 mil is my go-to. 6 mil. I haven't found one that won't blast away. So if it's out there, let me know. But I haven't found one yet. Okay, so let's talk. Do you have your artwork set up? Okay.
Before you go on to printing it. So right here I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to go to Expand. Once I expand it, that's going to make it stick, basically. So now, and then I'm going to pull it onto my piece, which I have the finished piece already made, and then that's what creates the curved surface on our finished piece.
All right, and so we're going to do the little test. This is actually ready to clean up. We're going to peel this away.
I can't wait to see it done.
So, I'm doing this live, so if I make a mistake or anything like it, there's no hiding it. All right.
Same here.
All right, so I have this removed. I'm actually going to come around. I'll set this here, and I'll come around and clean it, grabbing my plastic razor. Now, another tip when it comes to metal surfaces, remove the mask first before you put it in the water. Especially, if you're using laser masks, this is great for Yetis or metal tumblers. Remove that stencil first, then go ahead and you can rinse it with water. But you want to remove that stencil. I'm going to use my plastic razor. And if you were doing this on an optic crystal piece, you want to make sure that you have like some glass cleaner on it, rinse it well. You don't want it to scratch. Okay, that's done. Do you see how easy that pulled away from the surface? That's why I like to use Self-Stick with no adhesive, because it peels away so easily. I often find where people are like, I'm using water to remove my stencil, and you don't need to do that. Just use Self-Stick, use a little bit of moisture on that mask for this textured surface, and there you go. It's etched and ready to go. All right, so let's take a look. I'm being told we have some more questions. All right, so What software is being used? Corel. April's working in Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator today, but you can use Corel Draw. So Corel Draw, Adobe Illustrator. A lot of people use Inkscape. That works well. That's a free program. Okay, so it says here, have you done a video that walks through us making halftones? I've been asked to do photos, so that's going to be one of the segments coming up. We will get on photos. I do have a video that I can send you kind of going through the whole Photoshop and converting it to a halftone. So good to see you, Paul. Thanks for joining us today. And we can definitely do that. Where do you get the plastic razors is another question. Card. Yes, so plastic razors, I just bought them off Amazon. Amazon, really inexpensive, 2 packs. It was like $8, $7. But they're my go-to. I love the plastic razors. All right, so let's clean up our bottle before I run out of time. Okay, so we're going to do our test here. Actually, it feels pretty dry. Okay, so we're going to remove this shrink wrap here. And it was funny because I told April, I said, can you give me roses? Can you give me, so she gives me a rose. I'm like, okay, wait, can you give me 4 roses? And she had 1 rose, 2 roses, 3 roses, but she didn't have 4 roses, so she actually had to kind of go in there and create the 4 roses, as you can see there, to match the 4 roses. Yeah, I thought she did a pretty good job, right? Great. So let me go ahead and clean this up. We're going to use a little bit of glass cleaner. And again, I'm going to pull my plastic razor. I'm going to try to use, I might have to go to a metal razor for this. Yeah. It will work, but it's going to take too much time. So I'm going to pull my metal razor here. And keep your razor flat. You don't want to go at an angle to where you dig into the paint. April made me look good today with this artwork. I'm loving the roses. Now this is a little awkward up here, but I used 5mm Self-Stick. And it was flexible for this curved surface. So now we're going to take our rag, clean this up. Oh, she said it matches my dress perfect. Might have to take this home. So again, we have our roses here. Hopefully you can see that. A little bit of glitter. Now, like Sergey said, let the paint dry, then add the glitter yetter. Yes, you can do that. I would have done probably another 2 coats, to be honest with you, but I'm limited on my dry time. So 2 more coats of the glitter would have really made it stand out like this. And you can kind of see this is glitter all over. And it just sparkles. I would have added probably 2 more coats, but at least you get the idea of adding paint, adding some glitter, blasting a powder-coated surface, adding some paint, kind of correcting the artwork, taking a look at the artwork, creating it to the curve so we can have that stencil apply correctly so your text looks great. Let's take a look here. I think we have, all right, so we have, okay, so I can give her a dozen. Thank you, Sergey. He said he can give me a dozen roses. Thank you. We have some segments coming up. We've had 5 sessions so far. I hope you've enjoyed them. If you've missed any, go to our YouTube channel, sandcarving.com/sandcarving, and you can view all of our videos there that we've done for you, and they're under, I think, a virtual trade show or live events, because these are live. So there's no, it's from start to finish. We're trying to really give you the what you're looking for as far as education, how to use the products, what you can do differently. That's what we're trying to do for you. So if you have some suggestions, I got the halftones. I have another suggestion on some wine bottles, some lettering. So I'm taking those all into considerations for our next segments. We have stone that's going to be coming up as well. So engraving on stone. We're going to do a full segment on that, and so send us your comments. I do go through them. We try to do our best to answer all of them right away. But we thank you for joining us. Okay, go to Rayzist.com, and you can see all our products, the mask making kit, and YouTube channel /Sandcarving to view all of our videos. Find what moves you. If you're looking, some people ask me, what do I get started in? Find what moves you. Find your passion. Is it weddings? Is it spirit bottles? What's your who are the people you're connected with? Is it the medical field? Is it teachers? Is it a school district? There's something out there that you're connected with. Start with that and go with your passion. Go with what you love to do, because this isn't work for me. This is fun for me, and it needs to be fun for you. And when you're working and it's fun and you love it and you're creating things, that's when we have the best products. That's when we put out the best customer service. All right, so that's what I'm leaving with you. Find your passion, find what moves you, and take a look at our videos. Subscribe to us. Go to Rayzist.com, and we will see you next week. We'll see you on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Thank you for joining us.